Hey everyone, I finished watching the next Ninja Storm episode. I love Lothor. I freaking love this episode. This is a really fun episode of Ninja Storm. It's an episode that I remember watching like when I was younger, and when I was younger I didn't really like it that much. Like it was okay, but it wasn't a favorite of mine. It more became a favorite of mine when I was a teenager and I was looking deeper into all the episodes and like what they meant and stuff. So anyway, the episode begins with Mara and Capri are up on Lothor's spaceship. They hack into a satellite and watch really bad sitcoms from the sound of it. And this gives them the idea to use television to improve Lothor's image because the evil ninja that wants to take over the world needs a good image. Anyway, they have a new monster just because they always just happen to have a monster around. Mr. Ratwell, a big robot mouse rat thing with a weird voice. Anyway, he comes in to help, and down on Earth at Storm Chargers, the Rangers are watching a cooking demonstration. At first, I thought that they were like watching the filming of a cooking show, but no, it's just there's a cooking demonstration at this surfer and skateboard supply shop. Why is there a cooking thing going on here? It's like in Dino Charge when like the dinosaur museum will host like random other exhibits, but like at least it is a museum exhibiting museum things. With this, I don't know why in the world people would come to the supply store for a cooking demonstration. Like I guess it's a colorful place. So whatever, anyway. Mar and Capri go down to sneak some of Mr. Ratwell's love potion tablets into the food, and then they drop it into Blake's drink. And Cam drinks it too. Yeah, Blake like takes a sip of it. This doesn't taste good. And Cam's like, let me try. Huh. Don't think you'd see that anymore because of like germs and stuff. Anyway, let's see. Da, 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 da. Oh yeah, the first thing they see is Tori, and they instantly fall under a love spell with her. And they argue, which leads to a scuffle, which leads to a food fight in Power Rangers. It's over really quickly. It's not really that amazing of a food fight, but it's like, why haven't we had more food fights in Power Rangers? The recent seasons keep trying to be so much like Mighty Morphin and bringing up Mighty Morphin stuff, but they never do what, like, the best parts, like the food fight. So anyway, Cam and Blake compete for Tori's affection by giving her gifts. Blake gets her a socket wrench set. Cam gives her this big, like, value size bottle of acne face wash. Not good gifts. Anyway, Tori leaves and they start yelling at each other. Blake's like, "You scared her off." And I love Cam's line in response, "You gave her tools." I've always loved that line. You gave her tools. Anyway, under the spell, Blake and Cam challenge each other to a fight. And while Tori's leaving, she sees some Kelzacks entering a television studio. She follows them and she sees Lothor setting up to make his own show. But then Zurgane sees her and captures her. And then at Storm Chargers, Shane, Hunter, and Dustin, let's see, after the cooking demonstration, they turn on a TV and they're all just sitting and watching a cooking show. I don't know, is this the proper procedure for a cooking demonstration? I don't know much about cooking. I know microwaves. Like, you put water in the noodles and you put it in, then it's done. I like microwaved food. I don't know much about cooking. I know how to make pizza, and that's about it. So anyway, their cooking show is interrupted with I Love Lothor, Lothor's brainwashing sitcom show. Yeah. So anyway, they leave to find out what's going on, and the audience falls under the spell, and everyone falls in love with Lothor. Everyone in the audience at Storm Chargers is female, so they don't have to deal with any uh, questions of like, can a man fall under the love spell? Ooh. Oh, Cam and Blake did, so whatever. Anyway, Oh yeah, at the set of Lothor's show, Zergain goes up to Lothor and he's like, "Sir, I've captured the Blue Ranger." And Lothor's like, "Oh yeah, cool. Well, I gotta get to my show." So all of a sudden, Lothor is like super into the idea of having his own show, which that's a cute little thing. I like that. Let's see. Shane, Hunter, and Dustin talk to Sensei, and then they head down to the studio. Cam and Blake are fighting on the beach. Zergain sends Mr. Ratwell to battle Cam and Blake because. And then Tori frees herself, joins Cam and Blake, and she's really confused to see them fighting and ignoring the monster, which is just standing over there watching. Which is a really funny thing. Let's see. Oh yeah, and Shane, Hunter, and Dustin get chased away by all the fangirls underneath Lothor's love spell. And let's see. They lose them, they go to check on the other Rangers, and let's see, Mr. Ratwell joins in the fight. He starts shooting at Tori. Blake jumps in front of Tori, blocking the blasts, and then he, in a rage, destroys Mr. Ratwell, or whatever. And then the spell is broken, just as the others arrive. And the spell of the Lothor fangirls is broken also. Lothor makes Ratwell grow, and Tori is weak from the fight. Because whatever. So anyway, only Cam and the Thunder Rangers can call their Zords. And there's a little parallel here where Blake blocks Ratwell's blast from hitting Cam, showing that the spell is definitely broken and they are friends again. And so then they combine their Zords into a new formation and defeat him for good. Good episode. Let's see. My notes keep wanting to misspell Mara as Marsh. I don't know why they keep doing that. It doesn't always do it. Why does it do it sometimes? That's annoying. Oh, okay, anyway. At the beginning of the episode, Mara and Capri are talking to Lothor, and apparently they took a poll and found, let's see, Lothor's popularity. 92% of people find him unlikable. Which means 8% of people find him likable. Or no opinion. They don't say what the other percentage is, but yet 92 find him unlikable. And I love the absurdity of these self-admitted evil villains caring what people actually think of them, and also taking a poll. How did they do that? How'd they record their data? Oh, and also, there's a second poll where they say that boys 2 to 11 find Lothor somewhat disturbing. I'm wondering if that was, like, some actual notes from, like Fox Kids, or Fox Family, or, ABC Family, maybe. Let's see, this is episode 20 or 21 or something? So yeah, it's been on for a while. I don't know if they would have actually gotten, like, as far as being able to reference things that are happening, like, in the real world for their own show. Like, is that a true thing? Did boys 2 to 11 find a villain disturbing? Whatever, moving on. Mr. Ratwell, being a mouse, and his... bleh. Mr. Ratwell, being a mouse or rat or whatever, is an obvious reference to Mickey Mouse, the mascot of Disney, who were behind Power Rangers at the time. Although with his voice, he reminds me more of Mortimer, who was a radish counterpart to Mickey, although he is still a mouse, I guess. As much as Ratigan is a mouse and Great Mouse Detective. And, oh, also, interestingly, I didn't know this, Mortimer is Mickey's cousin? Or uncle? Or something? There was apparently, like, some comic that introduced him and he was his cousin or uncle or something. Boy, that's weird. I didn't know that. I remember Mortimer Mouse from some shorts, and he would be like a foil in House of Mouse, which I have on DVD somewhere up there. There it is. Anyway, moving on. Let's see. Oh yeah, the cooking class at Storm Chargers is pretty much only there so that they'll have, like, I don't know, an established group of women to fall under the love spell. That's pretty much it. It doesn't really serve anything else plot-wise. The Rangers don't really need to be there. Sensei could have just told them. Like, he's watching TV too. Like, he could have called the Rangers and said, "There's a show with Lothor interrupting my whatever he's watching." I think that would have actually been a little better. It would have given Sensei a bit more to do in this episode, rather than just have a bunch of random people at Stormchargers watching a cooking demonstration. Whatever. Anyway, that did make me wonder about, though, like, the cooking class demonstration thing. Was cooking originally going to be a bigger part of this episode? I know there are episodes of Ninja Storm that were, like, heavily rewritten before they were aired, and with the food fight at the end, I'm wondering if that was intended to be more of a nostalgic callback to Food Fight, more than, uh, what this episode actually was, which was like I don't know, kind of, I don't know what this episode was exactly. It's not really a parody of sitcoms, because it plays it, like, pretty straight. Like, yeah, this is a sitcom. So anyway, oh, there's a part where Mara, and my notes change it to Marsh again. Why does it keep doing that? That's annoying. Anyway, when Mara and Capri are talking to Lothor about having his own TV show and getting exposure through TV, they mention Britney and Christina. So I was like, okay, so Britney is probably Britney Spears, the popular pop singer from the 90s and 2000s. Christina, though, I wasn't quite as sure about. I don't follow pop music. The only reason I know Britney Spears is because I grew up in the 90s and she was freaking everywhere. Like, holy crap. Everywhere. And I never heard, like, a single one of her songs. I don't care about pop music, especially not in the 90s. So anyway, I assumed Christina must have been Christina Aguilera. She's the first thing on Google that popped up, Christina, that would have fit around that time. Although it could have been some other Christina, because looking into her career, Ninja Storm would have only just been starting at, or yeah, it would have started like around at the same time her career was just starting. She hadn't been a pop star for that long at that point when Ninja Storm was out. Then again, Ninja Storm was in New Zealand. It was shot in New Zealand, so I'm wondering maybe she had a bigger fan base there than in the US, though I don't know, because I don't know pop music. Was Christina Aguilera popular in 2003? Like, enough to actually get referenced in an episode of Power Rangers? Which is very unusual for them to reference real-life celebrities. Though they don't say their last names, that's probably how they got away with it. Moving on, the I Love Lothor show has surprisingly little screen time. Like, from when I was younger watching this, I remember the I Love Lothor stuff being the whole episode. But it's actually, like, barely a minute. Anyway, it looks pretty much like a typical sitcom, though the set is terrible. And that's something I've always wondered about and when I see sitcoms is, wow, the sets are awful. They're really, really bad most of the time. Like, it's really obvious what they've done is they have a backdrop, and that's it. All bazillion episodes of the sitcom are shot from the same angle, the same room, with the same people doing the same things, and I don't like sitcoms. Some sitcoms I do kind of like. Um, Actually, the two I'm thinking of off the top of my head aren't really typical sitcoms. Like, I'm thinking of MASH and Malcolm in the Middle. Malcolm in the Middle was shot in a way that they were trying to make it look completely different from most other sitcoms. It was shot like in a real house. The angles, they tried to do it like movie style. The camera would move. There were a lot of different settings. There were lots of different characters. Like, it was basically like a cartoon brought to life. And then the other is MASH, which was set in the Korean War. Funny. Anyway, this thing. Lothor's overly designed sweater is probably a reference to Bill Cosby's sweaters from The Cosby Show. He was well known for wearing really strangely colored, clashing sweaters a lot. Oh, and also Dr. Hibbert on Simpsons, when they started to gear him as a parody of Cosby, he wore funny sweaters too. And then, oh yeah, the title of this episode, I Love Lothor, I read on Ranger Wiki that it may be a reference to I Love Lucy. That went right over my head, because I'm not a big sitcom guy, so I definitely wasn't thinking of that. When I was thinking of I Love Lothor, what popped into my head was a show that was more relevant than I Love Lucy, when I was growing up, Everybody Loves Raymond. But now that I'm thinking about it, yeah, I Love Lucy is definitely probably more of like what the reference was going for, especially because of the writers. The writers of Power Rangers, they probably grew up with I Love Lucy and not Everybody Loves Raymond. And the only reason I know Everybody Loves Raymond is because it was a really popular show back in the 90s and I watched some of it. I remember Brad Garrett having a deep voice and I liked him like when it was on. The only thing I really remember is him getting chased by a horse that tried to bite him in the butt or something. All I remember from Everybody Loves Raymond is that thing and Raymond and his wife yelling at each other a lot. That's what I remember most about that show. And there was another interesting thing in I Love Lothor that I never noticed before. In the little sitcom bit, Capri is playing Lothor's daughter in the show, and she has this crazy makeup, and her hair is bright pink and standing way up, and it's really weird looking. And I was like, oh, that's a reference to Kelly Osbourne from the Osbournes. No idea how I knew that. Because I've never seen the Osbournes ever. I remember finding like there were bendy toys of them once. And oh yeah, there was a joke on South Park where Stan's mom says, "Don't watch the Osbournes; it'll make you retarded" or something. What? So anyway, I looked up on YouTube to see if there were clips of the Osbournes to see if I was right. Is it Kelly Osbourne who had weird hair? And I was surprised. There's like not a lot of clips of the Osbournes on YouTube for whatever reason. There's like interviews with the Osbournes, like all the actors in the show and Ozzy and all that, but when I finally found like someone had like bootleg uploads of the show squished into the corner, the sound is echoey, there's a glare on the middle of the screen, it's like slowed down slightly. Anyway, I tried to watch it, but man, the show was terrible, not just because of the quality here, but ugh. I don't know, maybe sitcom fans like it, but I can't stand that style of doing a TV show. So anyway, yeah, Capri's weird hair was a reference to Kelly and her impressive hair. And let's see. Oh, one of the women that's under Lothor's love spell, there's a scene where all the women under the love spell are outside the studio holding up signs, I love Lothor. One woman is holding up a sign that says, Lothor is a god. Don't know how they got away with that. Like, even just in the background, that seems like something that would definitely not be allowed. Like, I get it, but still, kind of extreme for Power Rangers. Oh, and one of the things I was thinking about in this episode, Chubo's been gone for a long time. I'm surprised they actually stuck with the idea of having him, like, get shrunk down and just be absent from the events going on. The Rangers don't really seem to care. They don't notice. They probably think they destroyed him or something. The bad guys don't acknowledge him either. Like, I'm trying to remember. I'm sure he comes back. Isn't there an episode where, like, he's still shrunk and he's still Mara's pet or something? And this whole thing with Chubo just being gone for so long, it reminded me of, in the Mentally Advanced series, the this abridged My Little Pony parody dub. There was this one episode where Fluttershy gets imprisoned, and the writer, Greg something, he was talking about how he wanted to just have Fluttershy be missing the next couple of episodes, the joke being she's still imprisoned, but then the show ended up getting canceled because of copyright strike abuses, and then... So I don't think that joke went very far, but it was a funny idea, and that's kind of what Chubo being gone reminds me of. So I Love Lothor is a standout episode for Ninja Storm, not just for Ninja Storm, but for the whole series. There's no other episode like it. It's a very unique episode, and it made me think about like the recent seasons. I'd really love to see the recent seasons do occasionally silly episodes like this, because we really don't get it. We don't get stuff like that. I think the last time there was like some really goofy stuff going on was, see, back in Super Mega Force, they adapted the episode of Gokaiger where the Pink Ranger changes into a bunch of different outfits, and it's really Looney Tunes and weird, and they kept it pretty much the exact same thing over here, and it was just really weird because it wasn't set up to be that kind of show, and also it was kind of weird because it was a very serialized story going on in Super Mega Force. It's not like back in Time Force where we could go from having a very serious episode to then having a very goofy episode, because there's not like an ongoing storyline that like comes up every episode like there was in that one. Moving on. Oh, and then also in Beast Morphers, there's that weird musical number, but I just found that to be more annoying than anything else. I was thinking, like, for Dino Fury, maybe they could take all the goofy, like, slapstick humor and move it and put it in its own episode, and we could have the Rangers going to Rafcon, and then in another episode, focus on Buzz Blast going to Canto Bite and saving horses. So that's it for this one. Hope you enjoyed it. See ya.